having some trouble connecting.
There we go.
There we go. Welcome, Holly. How are you?
You are under no obligation, by the way, to turn on your camera or your microphone. You can interact in the chat if you'd prefer, either way.
Good point. Good point. Thank you for reminding me of that, Kayla.
Hi.
How's it going?
How are you guys?
Doing
This is
well.
Murad. I'm her husband. I'm sorry. I just opened for her computer. Yeah. How are you guys?
Doing
Nice
well
to-
yourself.
Nice to meet you, Greg.
Good to meet you as well.
Thank you
for
very much.
joining us. As of right now, you're the only person we've had. I think Kayla said that we had around 10 or what was it, 13 people respond saying they would be here.
My honor.
As of right now, you get us all to yourselves. So
People
amazing.
sometimes drop in and out, so I wouldn't be surprised if we get a couple more in the next 30 minutes or so. But yeah, you've got the floor. If you've got any questions, our full attention is on you.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you guys.
Pleasure to meet you. And just so you're aware, if you haven't attended one of these before, this is a very casual conversation. This is us opening ourselves up to just answer questions. So we don't really have an agenda at all other than to provide answers to you. So if you've got questions or, any kind of
I have more than one question. I have 3 questions.
Oh, good.
For you.
Great. You've got all the time
First
in the
of all,
world.
thank you for your always soon response on my email, Greg. That's amazing. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You bet.
And I have a couple questions. The first question about the quick pass.
Mhm.
Okay. If I want to take the assessment sooner, okay, before the 3 weeks end, can I do that?
My understanding is
That's an option.
My understanding is yes.
And Greg, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but for the coding challenges, you're welcome to do them at any point during QuickPass, like up until the end of the 3 weeks. For the technical assessment, as long as you finish the coding challenges first and you pass them, you can schedule that whenever you want, is my understanding.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because Greg, he gave me like link for preparation. Okay, yeah, and that was really very helpful. It helped me a lot. It made me go. Yeah, it made me go through dive more and more and deeply inside the coding. So I think I'm almost ready for the coding challenge. That's why I'm asking if I can do it before the 3 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, frankly, if you want to start them well, QuickPass starts on Monday, so there's not a lot of time, but like as far as I'm aware, you're welcome to start them this weekend if you want to and you feel ready. We're not gatekeeping when specifically you can do them.
Okay, and the second question. What's likely the total cost? And do you offer scholarship that I can apply for? And how can I apply for that?
Yes, to answer the first question, can you apply for scholarship? Yes, always.
Okay.
Answer to the second question is we make the scholarship application very simple. Once we just wait till after you're accepted. So once someone is accepted, so they finish the whole application, and if you indicated that you want to apply for a scholarship, we give you a very simple form. You fill out that form, and based on that form, we do the scholarships. I mean, it's really that easy. You're not asked to write like a 10,000 word essay or anything like that. It is a very simple form that you fill out, and we get you the best scholarship we can based on that criteria.
What the criteria for that?
I'm sorry?
What the criteria that you, based on this criteria, you accept the people or accept the attendant for the scholarship?
Well, let's put it this way. We have a scholarship that covers every demographic that comes to Code Platoon. So for example, one of our scholarships is actually called a veteran scholarship. Well, every one of our students is a veteran.
Of course, yeah.
A lot of people ask, like, what do I have to do to qualify? Every one of our students technically qualifies. This is where it gets a little tricky, though. Due to certain compliance regulations and things, I can't guarantee you a scholarship. Okay, we can't openly state we guarantee you a scholarship. What I can tell you is that if you're accepted to a cohort, there is a very, very strong chance you will get a scholarship.
Good.
So this is kind of one of those like read between the lines kind of things where there's a very strong chance you're going to get a scholarship. Everyone qualifies for one of our scholarships. We have, in fact, our scholarship page, I can probably find that and link that for you.
I'll
Let me
get
see.
it in 1 second. Go
Okay.
ahead.
She'll drop it in the chat. And you can see some of the different scholarships we have that will give you an idea of what the different scholarships are. Our scholarships all cover between 80 and 100% of the tuition. So at the lowest level is an 80% coverage scholarship. In the event that you got an 80% coverage scholarship, don't worry that that remaining 20% is due up front. It's not. We work with you on that remaining 20% if that's the case. Maybe you qualify for 100% and then it's not a factor, but maybe you qualify for 20 or 80% and you're like, okay, when is this 20% due? We have students who are like, they make payment plans based on waiting until they get a job afterwards. They say, I'll start paying you as soon as I get a job. You know, that's totally fine. We can work with you. We do everything we can to make sure that cost is not a factor for attendance. So, you know, get accepted. We'll fight that fight after you're accepted. And the reason I say that is because as you've already seen, to get into Code Platoon is not just a simple fill out a form and you're accepted. You do have to take some steps, right? And because of that, we don't want to do the scholarship process first, because what we would end up with is about 10 times the number of students who actually attend applying for scholarships. And we would have like hundreds and hundreds of applicants that it doesn't matter until you're accepted whether or not we go through that, if that makes sense. So again, get accepted, and then we will do everything we can to make sure that it's affordable.
Okay, to get accepted, that means just passing the code challenge and what we call it, the life assessment, or there's
Yes.
something else.
Yes.
That's it.
That's
Yeah,
it
that's
for quick
it.
pass. Yeah.
And I should say, once you finish the coding challenge, of course, I don't know exactly how we're doing this with Quick Pass, but once you finish the coding challenges, we'll start working on scholarship stuff probably then, before you even schedule your live technical. So really the coding challenges are the big indicator that say, yes, we're going to move forward with this person and we'll start working on that funding question. So yeah, don't, as long as you got that, we're in good shape.
I think I'm ready for that. I already start with the UIC, you know, UIC. They're making something like that. I start with them, and then I didn't finish it with them because my wife and most of my friends, okay, they studied in Code Platoon, and they graduated from your code from your campus, okay, and all of them now is working in very good jobs and having a very good career. So most of them, they advised me. They said, no, stop, go Code Platoon, try to pass. No, seriously, yeah. That's what all of them told me, okay? And you will have a good chance, okay, to start a new career. You know, that's why I'm trying to be with you guys. Yeah. And I have a very good background. Like, I graduated from science faculty, okay? I'm graduated from, I'm chemist, okay? I studied chemistry, physics in the university, all kind of math, all math, okay? And all physics, all chemistry, you know? And some computer, like I studied the basics of the computer and the machine language, you know? So I think I will be ready for that. Just, I need, yeah, some luck to be with you guys, yeah.
Yeah,
there's something else you talk about, and I want to ask about it. I know you told me that early to ask about it now, but if you don't mind, just give me some ideas about that. You told me about payment plan option, right? If the payment plan option means that I can pay through during the 3 months that while I'm studying, or you said something about paying after I finish.
So
I
yes,
just want to be ready. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
No, fair question. And the answer is yes. I know for a fact that we've had students who did not start paying on that remainder until well after they had graduated. So again, it's been part of Code Platoon's mission since the beginning to make sure that cost is not a prohibitive factor for attendance. Like we want to make sure that cost is, that's not your reason for not coming, right? There's a host of other reasons why people don't come to Code Platoon. We want to make sure cost is not one of those. So we do everything we can. And so I know that there have been students, that's not my department, so I'm not going to give you any details of how that specifically works. What I can tell you is that, yes, there have been students who didn't start paying on that remainder until after they had graduated and started a job. So yeah, don't let that be a deterrent. For those just joining us, just for the record, he was asking about scholarships and how they relate to Code Platoon, how you qualify for a scholarship, and if you were to get an 80% coverage scholarship versus a 100% coverage scholarship, what that looks like, what that 20% remainder looks like, and how we handle that. So just so everybody's trying, we got.
If I get the 80%, I'll be more than happy. Yeah.
And like I said, I'm not on one of the people who determine.
I know.
What I can tell you, go to that page, and I think Kayla linked it in the chat. We have that page, and that will give you an idea of what some of the scholarships are that we have. So like I said, that's something that we focus a lot of energy and effort on, is raising money for scholarships to make sure that this is not a factor. And so
sorry, Greg, did I interrupt you? I do also just want to add to that, since you are doing Quick Pass, Greg, you can tell me if it's already been scheduled officially, but I know that the person who does coordinate the scholarships usually joins a class of Quick Pass to like talk through students' questions in more depth, like within the first week or two. So you will have opportunity to ask her directly as you go for it as well.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's
yeah.
good.
So Tish Johnson will be joining, and I will be part of that call as well. Or exactly what Kayla said. I think it's in the first week of Quick Pass, we do just kind of an introduction and say, hey, here's who we are, and if you have any questions, kind of what we're doing now, but for the Quick Pass class specifically. And that way, if people have questions like that, Tish is there. She's the official VA enrollment coordinator, so she's the guru. I know a decent amount about a lot of things here at Code Platoon, but I'm not the specialist on any of them. So I can answer generalities, but she's the expert on all things funding, all things scholarship, all things VA, all of that. She is the person, and she'll be the one who's managing your enrollment once you're accepted. I'm just kind of the person who gets you to that point, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. You know what, Greg? Actually, I think I'm ready to pass the code challenge, but I wanted to start with you guys from scratch. That's why I want to go through the Quick Pass to start to make the, like, we call it what, ice break, and start interact with the team of the Code Platoon. You know what I mean? That's why, yeah, that's really my main reason to start from the scratch with you guys. And also I have another question. I love teaching.
Can you check in really quick with Alice and then come back to your question?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, go ahead.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alice, did you have a question? You are muted.
Hi, yeah, thanks for the opening. I don't have a question particularly. I'm here just to get to hear more information. I applied for the DevOps evening weekends. So I actually already have a bootcamp certification, and I did JavaScript for that. And I know the coding challenge is requiring Python. So I have to learn that. I don't have Python on my toolbox. But yeah, I have a full-time job right now. I can't really afford to do a full-time. So it has to be weekends. I applied for vet tech, and I got the letter from VA saying I'm not eligible. So I'll definitely be looking for those scholarships. I'm Hispanic, woman, all of those things. So hopefully I can get some scholarships there.
Regarding your point about JavaScript and Python, this might be helpful for the rest of you as well in DevOps. I've talked to Guillermo, who's the instructor who evaluates the applications, and he tells me that if you've already submitted an application in JavaScript, or you have a high level of JavaScript understanding, you can do that, and you can have that conversation with Guillermo. We started out by saying that you had to do it in Python to do DevOps. That may not be a hard and fast rule right now. So
Okay.
if you've already done it, I encourage you to reach out to Guillermo. His email is guillermo@codeplatoon.org, just like all the rest of ours. So reach out to him and see what he says if you've already submitted that, and he'll give you an idea. He'll tell you like, hey, you're pretty solid as it is, and you know, he'll be the expert on that.
Okay, so I did JavaScript not through Code Platoon. So
Okay.
it's a different boot camp.
I got you. He
Yeah.
might still be okay with it.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak for him and say definitively, but
Right.
check with him.
Right. I know I'm really early in the process since the deadline is only September and everything. So I do have enough time to learn Python. But if that was the case and I could take the coding assessment in JavaScript, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's possible. Check with him and we'll find out.
Sure.
Glitch, you had a question. Hello?
I do not know why that doesn't show my name, but hi, everyone.
It's all good.
I have a quick question. I have tried a few times to the bootcamp. Then I moved to the second portion, the coding challenges, and I failed miserably to move on through that. So right now I'm going through the self-paced. I don't know where I got this information, but I got a repo with all the week 1, 2. I don't know if it's self-paced. So I'm trying to work through that to get more experience and pass the coding challenges. I was wondering if you guys have any suggestions on how to approach those and get ready for, September class. And it's also DevOps.
Applying for DevOps?
Yes.
So the first thing that I would recommend is if you can enroll in QuickPass. Like QuickPass is Python, right, Kayla? I'm correct.
QuickPass has some JavaScript and some Python.
And some Python. So we've got this QuickPass class coming up right now that's going to be live. That would be my first recommendation, is to enroll in that, and it's free. The second recommendation is, have you checked out our YouTube playlist on Python? So we have run in the past, we've run live like 101 level courses for Python and JavaScript. We have all of those on YouTube. They are all accessible so that you can watch the instructors leading a class of introductory Python. That is all on a playlist, and I can
send that too.
I was going to say, Kayla's probably, she just put that in the chat.
There you go.
That's a hugely helpful resource. Everyone that we've spoken to and that I've talked to says that this is a really, really helpful resource, because oftentimes the students who are in those classes are asking the exact same questions you are going to ask or are already asking. It's often the case that we do better with instructors, but the next best thing is to watch a playlist of videos for free where students were asking the questions that you probably have as well. Alice, I don't know, you had some experience with Python already, so maybe you want to share some thoughts on that too.
Alice was JavaScript, but
right.
Oh, that's right. But
Python. So okay, I was confused about this. So the QuickPass is for the full-time software bootcamp, right?
in the past, QuickPass was for the full-time software engineering bootcamp. That was what the first QuickPass was, which was back a while ago. I don't know how long you've known about it and if you may have seen any of those communications. For this coming QuickPass, the spring 2024 QuickPass, we are opening it up to not just people who are applying for X-Ray Platoon, but also who are applying for our next upcoming full stack evening and weekend program and DevOps evening and weekend program. So it is a little bit more catered towards the full stack software engineering immersive program, because that's what it's like running straight into scheduling purposes, but there will be value there for folks of all interested in all the different programs. There's going to be introductory materials to help.
Sorry to interrupt.
All right, go ahead.
What would be the what would be the schedule for QuickPass like?
Yeah, so the classes are running 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings. It actually starts this coming Monday and will go for 3 weeks. So yeah, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday evenings, 6 to 9 p.m. Central, those 3 weeks. If you're able to make it, it'll be a really nice resource.
I see. Yeah, well, then I'm definitely interested. I didn't understand it that way. I thought it was for a full-time.
Well,
But-
here's the reality of the stuff that we offer, especially this free stuff and these courses that are a little less formal. Let's say that even if it was, I'll be straight up with you, even if
Yeah.
that's what its main intent is, you can join it, you can learn, and if you decide to just not apply to the full stack and instead apply to the to the DevOps, we don't care. We love you. We still want you to do so. So take advantage of all these resources, even if you're not applying for exactly what it's intended for. It's going to be helpful. It's going to lead you down that same path of preparing you for, for these coding challenges, which really, that's what we're preparing you for, giving you that fundamental knowledge
Right.
to be able to move forward. I don't know if that's
Very,
helpful.
it's very helpful. I'll definitely sign up. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Glitch, do you mind sharing what your name is just so I'll know who is here?
It's Nadia Brinky.
All right.
Nadia, does that answer your question? Does that help?
Yes, I just want to move through the challenges this time around because I tried 3 times and then I drop out because I feel like it's going to consume more time than I thought so. But now I have the time so I can invest some time in it. And that's why I was doing the self-paced. And I already signed for the quick start. So I'll be there next week.
Good. That's perfect. That's great. Murad, do you have any advice? Because you've already learned a lot of this. Do you have any advice for someone starting out, like in Nadia's position?
The introduction, that the link that you sent it to me, the introduction for the coding, that very good start. Seriously.
Good.
Yeah, and the guy and the instructor, the guy, he make it very simple and very easy. I wish if I meet this guy to thank him. No, seriously.
We'll
Yeah.
pass it on. I will
And you know what?
pass it on.
He made me. I worked as a teacher before. Okay, teaching physics and computer classes. So he made me feel like I want to back again to teach the coding. And I want to ask you guys how to be one of your team, or if this possible. You know what I mean? If I can assist you, or if I can be, I want to be one of the Code Platoon team.
I love it.
How to be
the best thing to
one
do
of
there
you.
is to get into the cohort and meet the boss. And he's a great, fantastic leader. And Rod will be happy to talk to you about exactly that. So at some point in this process, after you're accepted, you're going to end up having a conversation with Rod. Rod Levy is the founder and director. He would be happy to talk to you about exactly that. So, yeah, I encourage you to do exactly that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Greg. Yeah,
you bet.
I
Justin,
would like that.
thanks for joining us, Justin. And it looks like you have a question.
I do. Sorry, I'm a little late. I was just wanting to know. So I heard that how you were combining all the the different classes for a quick pass into one. I just wanted to verify that the quick pass also has the challenges that were mentioned. I didn't understand that part.
Yeah, that's the goal of Quick Pass, is kind of to help prepare you for and lead you to those challenges. Those coding challenges are really the fundamental kind of gateway to get into Code Platoon. Quick Pass is just a recent thing that we've added as a new way of kind of accelerating your path to getting there. And as we were discussing, I think actually before everyone got here, it's not even a hard and fast criteria that you have to go through all of Quick Pass to get through those coding challenges. If you happen to go through a week of Quick Pass, let's say, and you already had some knowledge and you're like, hey, I'm ready to do this right now, go for it. Absolutely dig in and start answering those challenge questions. But Quick Pass is just it's an instructor-led version of us accelerating you through the path to getting there, because a lot of people come to us a little bit late in the game and they're like, what do? I didn't find out about this until it was just before the deadline. That's where Quick Pass comes in. Still have to get through those challenges because we have to ensure that number one, that you have the basic proficiency to get through this program because it is intense. And we want people to know upfront that it is an intense program. But number two, this gives you the chance to know what this is all about. This is when I tell people all the time, one of the greatest things about software engineering, about learning to write code, is that you're learning right away what this job is about. There's no mystery, right? It's not like some jobs where after 4 years of college, you walk into the job and you're like, this is not at all what I thought it was. Like I thought I was doing something totally different and I was learning this and now I'm doing this in the real world. Coding, when you sit down at a Quick Pass class or an intro to coding, that's the job. That's what you're doing. You're learning the fundamental skills that will lead you to software development. So learning those skills is a fundamental part of this journey in recognizing in yourself, is this what I want to do? And it helps you answer that question because some people come in and they start into intro to coding and they're like, I don't want to do this. This is not for me. That's fine. Great. You figured that out. Move forward with that. I had a former Marine call me not long ago and say, yeah, I'm going to go be a truck driver. I can't imagine staring at a computer all day. I said, you know what? That's awesome. That's cool because he recognized in himself what he did and did not want to do. We all have to do that. So this gives you that opportunity while demonstrating the basic technical proficiency. Quick Pass is just a faster shortcut way of doing that, if that makes sense.
I agree. I'm in full support of what you got going on.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Does that answer your question, I hope?
Yes. Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
Awesome.
Any other questions? I think I addressed all the questions that I saw immediately. And feel free to type your question in the chat too, if you want. We do have, as we've already shown in the chat so far, we have a lot of resources online that you can check out. We try to offer as much as we can for free. And when I say that, I think we offer everything we do for free.
Yeah, this Quick Pass will get me in the June cohort, right?
Yes.
June.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to make sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and again, to answer your question from earlier, like you said, can you start doing the challenges now? Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, this is helpful to everyone because I don't know if I mentioned this. It's important to note the coding challenges for Code Platoon are not timed. They are not timed. So you can go on and let's say you go to the challenges and you say, oh, questions 1 and 2 are easy. I can solve those. Solve them. Do it. Submit them as long as you're and then you get to 3 and 4 because they get progressively harder. You can come back and be like, oh, those are a little bit harder. Maybe I need to go back to Quick Pass and learn a little more. You can do that.
So I don't need to solve everything one shot. I can. Okay. I didn't know that. Yeah.
No, and that's
Do
really
recommend saving a copy of your work just in case like your cookies die or something.
Okay, I got it.
You
Yeah.
can do
Okay.
it
Thank you,
manually.
Ken. Yeah. Thank you.
The big thing there is just submit. What I do recommend is solving a problem in one sitting. So solving one challenge in a sitting because of exactly what Kayla said. CoderByte will not save your work in progress. So let's say you've solved half of a problem. If you come back to that, it might not be there. But if you submit it, then it's in CoderByte. It's there. It's good. And the instructors will look at it. The instructors won't even note how long it took you. So if you took a month, let's say you came to us way before a deadline. And for those of you who want to get into DevOps, let's say it takes you 2 months between when you did the first problem and the 10th problem. I don't think the instructors even see that. All they're looking at is, did you solve these problems and how well did you solve them? They don't care how long it took you. So don't even worry about time. As long as you're working on one problem at a time, you're fine.
Thank
One
you, Greg.
other thing I want to mention real quick about that is if you complete the coding challenges, but you just don't quite score high enough to pass and you still have time, we will let you like redo them. You don't have to start totally from scratch. We will, in fact, the person who scores the coding challenge will email you with like areas to improve on as well. So you'll get a little guidance going into that as well. So we do recommend when possible, finishing the coding challenges a little early of the deadline. That way, if you decide you want to make corrections, you have the opportunity to do so. But yeah, do note that it's not like if you don't pass on your first try that you're like locked out forever, or that you have to start completely from scratch or anything like that?
There is no downside to trying. I mean, like Kayla said, we don't have negative points. So if you submit an application that's no good, that's okay. You can do it again. Justin, you had a question.
Yes, I was wondering, did you discuss funding already, or is that only discussed after you pass the challenges?
We discussed it a little bit in relation to scholarships, but if you have a specific question, we can absolutely address that. That's what we're here for. This is a pretty informal deal, so shoot.
What are the different funding methods?
So right now there are two funding methods from the VA. GI Bill is the first one. I hesitated there because for those of you who are interested in DevOps, be aware, GI Bill is not an option. And the reason it's not an option is because of exactly the criteria for GI Bill, which is that you have to be an in-person student at a school like ours.
Correct.
We don't have an in-person DevOps option. So there is no GI Bill for DevOps. Just be aware of that. So option number one from the VA for full stack immersive is the GI Bill if you attend in person. Option number two from the VA is VR&E. It's formerly known as Voc Rehab. I highly encourage you to look into this if you haven't already. It requires a fairly low threshold of a disability rating from the VA. Don't worry, I'm not asking you what your disability rating is or if you have one, not my business. But if you contact the VA, just Google VA VR&E, vocational rehab and employment, I think is what those stand for. That will bring you to the VA's page on that, and you can apply online. They will assign you a counselor. The great thing about VR&E is that it will pay your whole tuition, and it will give you a living stipend, and they will buy you a laptop. It's a pretty great way of going through our program if you can get VR&E. So huge, great option. Look into that if you can.
So I am aware of that option, and I do also have a counselor. But my background in the military was communications. So wouldn't this not apply since it's all in the same wheelhouse?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Basically, here's what it comes down to with VR&E. You're going to meet with a counselor, and you are going to make your case as to why Code Platoon is the most awesome thing that could ever happen to people in the history of the world. Okay, I'm overselling it a little bit, but you get what I'm saying. VR&E comes down to one thing and one thing above all else, which is a counselor's stamp of approval. That individual counselor saying yes or no. That's what VR&E comes down to. Every student we have had who has gone to VR&E to make that case has been successful. So we have not, as of yet, been denied. I do know of people who have gone to VR&E counselors and said, hey, I want to do X program, and they got denied. I don't know of any people who have been through the Code Platoon pipeline and been denied at the VA for this. Now, we haven't had a ton. We're starting to get more and more because it's becoming a more viable option. But it really comes down to you making that case with that counselor. It's a viable school. It's recognized with the VA. We are a VA authorized institution of learning. We have all the codes necessary for us to give to that counselor. So it really has never been a problem. I wouldn't worry about that being a deterrent at all.
Okay. I guess I didn't understand because it requires you to switch your job, and I care about honesty too much, and they don't care about honesty at all. So the difference would be I did networking in the military, and coding is just a different type of network. So it's kind of the same thing. I know, totally not even the same. That's how they would explain it, because it's still IT and IT.
Yeah, and I understand that there are people with that perception, but it's, and I think we've even had people who have been in similar positions in the military. It's never been a barrier because it's an official training that gives you, like, there's nothing in the military that's going to make you a software engineer. There is no direct one-to-one correlation. I think they're out there somewhere. There might be some software engineers in the military.
Someone had to take you in and guide you in to do all that. No, there's no actual class.
they're not going to teach you JavaScript and Python and the basics of web design. So again, we've never had an issue before. I've never talked to a prospective student who went to a VRE counselor and the counselor denied Code Platoon. It's not happened to me yet. Everyone
Okay.
I know has been approved. So if they need to speak with us, if your counselor needs to speak with us, I'm happy to be an advocate for you. Tish will be an advocate for you. We will get you the documentation they need. So yeah, just make your case as well as you can. And I think it'll be good results.
I have, I'm
Yeah,
sorry
go
for,
ahead. No, go ahead.
and you might not know the answer, but do you know if you need to be unemployed to get VRNE?
I don't think so, because I think
Yeah, I'm going to have to say no on that one because the whole point of the program is to get you employed again.
yeah, and it has to do with, so if you can make the case, and this is my understanding of it, if you can make this case that you're decidedly upskilling and advancing
Exactly.
your career, that's really what they're looking to do. It's not so much of I'm unemployed and I need to be employed. It's I make X number of dollars an hour and I'm going to be able to make Y dollars an hour in the future if I go through this program. That's really what they're after, is a decided improvement in your career employability, if that makes sense.
Yeah, from what I can tell, what they really want to hear is that you made a decision and you think that it's a good thing for you. So that's what they care about. You're making improvement. Let's go. Here was everything that you need.
Yes. And on that note, that's arguably the single biggest downside of VRE is that individual counselors are, number one, sometimes unavailable. I was just sharing this with some of my coworkers yesterday. There's a big push at the VA to hire more VRE counselors because there's a shortage, which means in certain areas, like I talked to students in certain areas, and it takes them a long time to get in to see a counselor just because there's a shortage, so they have a wait list. And that also connects to the part two of that same problem, is that it's somewhat individually dependent. So you can have one counselor who's super awesome and helpful and motivated to help you, and then the next counselor is some grumpy person who's like, I don't know, maybe.
That experience when I was switching careers, not careers because it's IT, right? But when I was IT to the cloud, and I tried to get this program to pay for certifications, and I was denied, and I was explaining how this will help me to get to where I wanted to get, and he said, no, because you have a job. So that's when I went back to vet tech, thankfully, but I no longer have GI Bill. So I'm gonna look into this, make a better if I get approved through them again.
Well, and it doesn't matter because vet tech doesn't exist anymore anyway. So, until that changes, we're kind of in a lurch as far as anything vet tech. So that would not, even if you had a day of GI Bill left, it wouldn't matter because there's no vet tech right now.
Okay.
Hopefully in the future, but we can all cross our fingers on that one as soon as the Senate takes some action.
Did we cover scholarships yet, Greg? I know we did with Murad, but I'm not sure since everyone else joined.
Yes, so scholarships, that's right, because your question was about funding, and all we were talking about there was VA options. So scholarships, we do have, if you scroll up in the chat, we have a page on scholarships.
Do it again too.
Right at the very top of the chat. What's that?
I'll send it again just to make it easy for everyone.
Yeah. So we have scholarships that cover everybody who's going to attend Code Platoon, because we have scholarships for veterans. We have scholarships for spouses. Well, that covers our entire demographic of our student body. So most assuredly, there is something that covers a demographic you fall into. The way it works is very simple. Well, the application process is the complicated part. So if you apply to Code Platoon and you are accepted, from that point on, we make the scholarship part of it very simple. We give you a very short form to fill out. Based on that form, we're going to get you the best scholarship we possibly can. Our scholarships cover between 80 and 100%. I think that's part of the conversation where some of you came in. That 80%, if you were awarded an 80% scholarship, that 20% that's remaining is not due up front. We're not going to not let you into Code Platoon because you couldn't come up with that remaining 20%. We're going to work with you and do everything we can to make sure this is affordable. Code Platoon's mission from the beginning has been, number one, to address the veteran unemployment situation by giving a hard skill to veterans who qualify. And two, to do that affordably, to make sure that cost is not a prohibitive factor for attendance. So we do everything we can to make sure cost is not a reason you're not going to attend. There's a lot of reasons why people don't attend. I've never, in 4 years, for almost 4.5 years at Code Platoon, I've never known a person who didn't come here because of the cost. We just didn't let that be a factor. Now, we've had students who didn't attend because they were counting on a VA method that had that living stipend. As some of you know, VA options come with that extra living stipend. Our scholarships are not going to cover that. I'm not going to lie to you. That's a whole other step of funding that we're not prepared to do. But in terms of the tuition, it's never been a factor since I've been here. No one I've ever spoken to said, "Wow, I just can't because of the tuition." If you qualify, you get into Code Platoon, you're accepted. We're going to make it work. We're going to do everything we can to make it work. Any questions on any of that? I know it's a lot. Like the funding question is always a very big one because there's a lot of nuance and detail to it. But the bottom line is that we're going to do everything we can to make it affordable for you. To include smoothing that VA process. If you're a VRE student, if I need to get on the phone with a VRE counselor, I am happy to do exactly that because I have all the data they need to make this place look amazing. And that's the nice thing for those of you coming to Code Platoon. One of the greatest things about my job is that I can just state facts and they sell themselves. I don't have to spin the fact that we have a really high employment rate after graduation. I don't have to spin the fact that our graduates are doing very, very well. These are all just numerical facts. And so I just share that with the VA and they go, "Oh, cool, right on." So don't hesitate to share my information with your counselor if that's what you're doing. If you think that will help. If you don't think it will help, then don't. You can keep the conversation private. I'm fine with that too. Any other questions? Anything else?
I did put Greg's email address in the chat as well in case anyone would like to follow up with him regarding anything after the fact.
Yes. And I should add to that too, that we always keep in mind that I'm happy to do this one-on-one. Like if you want to schedule a call with me, that's what I do all day is talk to people coming through this process. If you have questions that you would rather ask me over the phone, happy to do so.
All right, any other questions?
Murad.
You guys make it look very easy. Okay. No, seriously. Is there any attendant didn't pass the challenge or they tried to apply and to start studying with you and they failed to do that? Is there failure percentage?
So our
because I'm really very excited to start with you this journey and I don't wanna, you know what I mean? I wanna feel more confident.
The last number I saw, so there's a couple different ways to answer that question. The first is the most basic, our graduation rate. And by graduation rate, what I'm talking about are the people who enter the program and actually finish. I think is right now around 93 to 94%. Of those remaining 6 or 7%, it's important to note that probably more than half of them, the reason they don't graduate is not academic. Because if you have a certain number of people over a certain amount of time, you're going to have people who have life events come up that prevent them from continuing, right? Whether that's, heaven forbid, a death in the family, or they have to move, or whatever. These are not things that intellectually or academically prevented them from graduating, but they were nonetheless prevented. So really, our graduation rate is very high. Now, if you're talking about the graduation rate of people who start the application process and actually complete the whole thing, that's a much smaller number because we
yeah, that's what I'm asking about. Yeah, because you keep saying if you pass, so that made me feel like is there people didn't pass the application, the code challenge? It just
Yes,
happened.
but I'm gonna give you some, I'm gonna give you some bad news and then some good news. So the bad news is that yes,
Don't
we
start with the good news, please. The good news.
No, I'm gonna make the bad news first because it'll make the bad news look less bad. So we start with a lot of people, and out of those massive number of people who submit part one of our application, we have a massive reduction in people who actually get accepted to the cohort. And I mean, it's a big reduction. However, most of those people are people who drop out before they even try to submit part two. So they never even get past challenge number one. They submit part one and then they find out, oh, there's all these challenges, and then they just never continue. That's okay. That's fine. And it kind of goes back to what I said earlier of if you're digging into this and you really want to get into it, well, maybe a lot of people didn't realize what it was. And so they just backed out then and they didn't keep going. So I would say the vast majority of people who don't continue past part one are people who just decide that this is not their career path.
Okay.
No judgment whatsoever. That happens, but that's where we see the biggest drop off. Of people who actually submit a full application, I don't know what the actual number is, but most of them are accepted because anybody who's willing to take that much effort and try to submit like every challenge question, like all 10 challenge questions, at the very least, even if they don't pass the first time, that shows that they took the effort to do this. And the instructor is going to work with that person and say, like Kayla said earlier, he's going to say, okay, if you work on X, Y, and Z, you're going to be in much better shape. And those people are almost always accepted. So the people who actually take the advice of the instructor after submitting the application are nearly always accepted. So
that's why I feel it. Everyone should pass this challenge because you guys very supportive. You really pushing the people to success. You know what I mean? That's why I feel that like not contradiction, but everyone should pass it with effort. No, seriously, with your effort, guy. Yeah.
well, I think
I have a story I can share if this will answer your question about this if question that you have. So I think I heard about this Code Platoon like 3 years ago, and it was around a time where I was coming up a little bit busy, just started a new job, but I was learning all this stuff anyway, so I figured let me just go ahead and go through it. But I kept reading and I understood that you have to do this challenge, you have to do this, and I still have all this time that I don't have. So I said, let somebody else do it. I don't need it right now because I'm just going to keep going. Just going to keep figuring it out. Just going to keep trying things, and I'm just going to keep doing it. Here I am 3 hours later with all that life stuff that had gotten away, everything that I procrastinated about, all my stuck on trying to figure this out, all the failures, all that. I'm still trying. I'm still doing it. But I didn't go anywhere. I never got past step one. I never got past step two. Let's just do it this time and see where we go. Because again, I'm just going to keep trying.
That's a great attitude. That's a great attitude. And like I said, it's not, number one, it's not for everybody. And number two, exactly what you pointed out, it's not for everybody at every time. There are times in your life where it makes sense, and there are times in your life where it doesn't. I'm someone who left high school many, many, many moons ago, by the way. Kayla will attest that I'm an old man. I left high school. I had no interest in school whatsoever. None. Zero interest in school. And now here I am at 50 years old with a bachelor's and 2 master's degrees. Even my parents are surprised. They're like, what? How did this happen? Because I was the guy who barely graduated high school, like barely. And I wanted to walk as far away from school as possible. But then later in life discovered, hey, I can actually do this. Next question. You had a question.
Yes, real quick. I'm just looking at the calendar for DevOps. Quick clarification. It looks like the classes will be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, but also Saturday. It's
Correct.
not just weekend. It goes 4 days per week. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So the
correct, yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Greg.
evenings on the weekdays. So I think it's what, 5:30 to 9:30, or is it 5 to 9? It's one of those two. And then 8 to about 5 on Saturdays. We realize, so that's a lot of hours for a non full-time program. And we recognize that, What's really important to understand is the reason why we did that. Number one, this program is a lot. I mean, you're learning a lot in a short amount of time. There is a reason why we do that, though, for technical specifications. If you note the name of our evening and weekends programs, they're not called part-time. And there's a reason for that, because we can report to the VA that these are not part-time programs, which ultimately helps you. So anybody who happens to use a VA form of funding, now I know I said earlier, like you can't use GI Bill. This is back when we had vet tech as a main option. But the point is that we can classify those evening and weekend programs as a full-time program. So even if you were to use something like VRE, we can register that as a full-time program because it meets the weekly hour. That's what the VA goes on. For those unaware, VA goes on weekly class hours for how they structure their time requirements. So those are not part-time programs, and that opens up other options at the VA. So that's the main reason why that is. Yes, it's a lot of hours, but we want to have the most options for our students.
May I ask you a
Yeah.
question about what were your majors in your 2 master degrees?
History and psychology. So I'm the most non-tech person ever that works at a tech company. So I have no tech knowledge whatsoever, and I ended up here. I don't know how it happened. I just did. So
Don't
yeah.
worry, Greg. Do not worry, Greg. I plan on getting a master's or PhD in philosophy myself, and I
Oh,
haven't even started yet. Don't
Good.
even worry about it.
Yeah,
I'm in the same
that's
boat.
one of my areas of interest. So like I'm a history major, but history of philosophy was a big area of my studies. So yeah, I don't know that it was, I mean, I'm glad I did, but yeah, there's a lot of
Okay.
education to not have anything to do with what I'm doing for a living.
And Alice, she didn't tell us anything about herself. About yeah.
Well,
I can beat you on that one. So I'm actually a violinist primarily. So yeah, I was
That
a
is cool.
8 mic truck driver. And then I transitioned to crypto linguist, and then the pandemic happened. So then I became a software engineer. But Greg, while we are here, I just want to tell you, I just heard from Guillermo. I wrote him and he said it's only Python.
Oh,
Okay.
it is only, okay. My
Yeah.
bad. I'm sorry, I passed
No
on.
no
faulty info.
worries. I'm glad that we are early enough that I can know.
Sure.
So
So
um,
I'm
so
going to beat you up just a little bit really quick. Where were you a couple of weeks ago? So I just did a conversation on YouTube, and you can look it up, and Kayla can probably find it pretty quickly. I did a conversation with all of our graduates who were musicians. Who
oh
were
really?
military bands, because
That's
we've had
cool.
a disproportionate number of musicians who have come through our program. I'm not kidding. We've
I
had
believe it. I believe it. It's similar, the way our brains operate. It's very similar.
yeah,
I
check
was
out that conversation. Go ahead.
yes. Could you send me the link?
I'm
That's
finding it. Yes.
Kayla's
Yeah.
finding it right now.
Appreciate it.
I-
What I was gonna tell you, so the quick pass is in Python. That was my question, I guess. Is that
Is Kayla, is
I
that
think it covers both.
it covers both? Okay.
Yeah.
what I can tell you is that some of our intro material is moving towards being more Python focused. Previously, it was almost exclusively JavaScript. Like our intro to coding was exclusively JavaScript. We're moving more towards Python to give people a little bit more robust understanding of, number one, multiple languages, but Python seems to be a bit more in demand. I don't know, JavaScript's still in demand. They're both of them are in the top 5 of in demand, which is why we cover them. But we want to focus a bit more effort on Python.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you.
I wanted to ask, I want to say Kayla, but I said Alice by mistake. I'm sorry. Yeah, Kayla, you didn't tell us. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Yeah, Kayla, you didn't tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I've been at Code Platoon.
How did you engage in Code Platoon, and what was your study? And yeah, we know.
Yeah.
I don't
So
know
I've been at Code Platoon for 2 years, a little over 2 years now. I did live in Chicago, and I was doing like a hybrid model. Now I'm in Atlanta with my family, and I'm working remote. My degrees were actually in English and sociology, so I am also not a coder, I confess.
No
But
one.
yeah,
As a
Greg and
coding
I are on
major,
the same team, but like the team to like help people get through the application and into Code Platoon. So don't ask us to solve the coding challenges for you, but we can help you with everything else.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Any
You
other?
covered all the aspects, guys. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're happy to. And Alice, I should say too, you said something about crypto linguistics. The conversation I had after the one with musicians was one with linguists. So our
Nice.
military linguist alumni. So we have that on our YouTube page as well. So those
Actually,
are
not going to do quite yet, but we're going to very soon.
what's that?
We're still editing that one, but
Oh, that's not up yet. That's
Yeah.
right.
keep your
Forgot
eye
about
out. But
Yeah, okay. I forgot that one's not up yet. But yeah, same place where Kayla just linked in the chat, the conversation I had with musicians. Again, like I started noticing about a year ago, I was like, why do we have so many musicians
Very cool.
coming through Code Platoon? And
That's
so
because we are broke. That's why.
yeah, right. I mean, that's the basic answer is like everybody's getting out, they're serving as a military band member and they're getting out going, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I'm not going to get a job at the local orchestra. That's just
Right.
not going to.
It's tough.
Yeah, it is. As a hobbyist musician myself, I love playing, but it's one of those areas where I can't imagine trying to make a living in it. I think it'd be extremely difficult.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
we're almost out of time, but we can take like a couple more questions if anyone has any. Otherwise, we will end the conversation.
You did a very good job, guys. Thank you very much. You covered
Thank you.
everything for me. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you all. Thank you all for joining us. And
Thank you, guys.
keep an eye out on our YouTube page for all kinds of new cool stuff. And don't hesitate to hit me up with any questions you have.
Take care,
All
guys.
right. Thanks all.